Hi, I'm Rick Stivers with YoungMartin'sReels, and today we're going to be playing just a little bit. Fellow Facebook enthusiast has asked that we take a look into the drag systems on the Zebco 33, the Zebco 600, and the Zebco 606. He says he's having problems with all of them sticking. So we're going to take a look at what's involved in them and see what we can do to maybe set it right. This one, this particular one right here, I was waiting for parts for, and I have gotten them now, so I might as well go ahead and fix the drag system on it while we're in there. But we're going to take them apart, look at the drag system, look at see how it's composed and what it's made of, and how to go about fixing it. This is the zombie reel that I repaired yesterday. We're going to take a quick look at it. It's the one that started all this questioning, and we'll pop it open real quick and take a look at how the drag system is installed in it. Let's set the rest of these off to the side for a moment. Alright, here's our drag system right here. Alright, and what we have this block right here, and let's go ahead and pop the front off. There we go. Wow, that comes off so much easier than it did before we cleaned it and fixed it yesterday. Oh, still got the line on it. Let's cut the line. There we go. Alright, pop this front cover off and pop the clip, and then you can see everything about what's going on in there. If you're interested in all that, how all that came apart, you can worry about that over on the other video. First off, this is your drag system. This is what it's composed of. You have this lip right here, and you have this Teflon block right here. And that block, if you look, is threaded. And this screw screws into that Teflon block. Well, when you pull back on that, you can put this back in. Alright, well, my fellow YouTuber, or Facebook fella, says that he's trying to get his to open up. He said he's unscrewed this to where it completely disengages from the block, and yet the block is still staying hard up against. So what you can do in that instance, let's see, well, I don't know that it can completely disengage from the block because it's still threaded into it. And the only other thing I can think that you can do would be to drive the pin out. Let's see if we can take the tension off of the spring. Yeah, alright. If you look, by screwing it forward enough, we can take all the tension off of the spring, so that then all you have is this little washer and this pin holding it in. What you should be able to do at that point, and let's see if I have that tool up here, or if I'm going to have to get up and get it. I'm going to have to get up and get it. I buried it. There it is. Alright, if you look, I made this little tool for punching out pins. This pin here is smaller, though, I'm afraid, than what that one is going to be, but we can try to drive it out. I don't think it's going to work, but we can give it a shot. But if you look, with this all the way screwed in, if you screw that all the way in, you should be able to, with the threads engaged, you should be able to grab hold of the knob and pull it out. You shouldn't have to drive that pin out. So that's what I'm going to suggest you do. Screw it all the way in. The threads should stay engaged. If they don't, you should be able to put your screwdriver, slip it in here from the back side, and twist that, and it should pop that out and open. Okay? I really don't suggest you take that pin out. That's kind of a last resort effort. You could if you had to, but I'm afraid you'd damage the roll pin. You'd have to be trying to find another one because it's such a small, fragile piece. But look, if you screw that all the way in, let's unscrew it. Let's zoom in on this so you can see it better. All right, with this unscrewed all the way out, this is going to exert maximum pressure against the block, forcing it up against this collar right here. When you screw this all the way in, even if your block is staying in at the moment, you should be able to put a screwdriver underneath the head of the screw, pop it out, and see how that lifts the block out? That should free that up. With that freed up, you should be able to take this off and be able to go in and add some lubricant, oil, and get that freed up, and that should take care of it. That's on the 606. All right, so we're going to stick this back together. You're not seeing anything. All right, I'll go back to what I was doing. What I did was put this back in by pulling out on the knob here. Slip this back in while I'm pulling out on the knob. That allowed it to go back in. Put the clip back on. And then I slip the back on. Push in on the button, hold it down. Push this in. All right, that covers the 606. Let's take a quick look at the 600. This is a bad 600. Okay, I'm going to show you in just a second what's bad with it. I've got to fix it. Okay, it pops out the same way the other one did. See all these pieces? Those are all part of that rotor. I've got to fix that. All right, pop the back off and let's look. All right, this one is made exactly the same way. So the 600 works exactly the way the 606 works. So the same procedure. Tighten it out. That makes the drag as tight as possible. Screw it back in. Screw it in all the way. See how it separates it? It should pull it in. If you screw that knob all the way in, even if it doesn't, you should be able to slip a screwdriver underneath it. See there? And pop it out. So it works the same way as the 600. So that's all the time we're going to spend on that one. Gather up all my pieces parts. Store them inside. There, I don't know why I'm keeping them. They're all garbage. But for the moment, they go back inside. All right, that brings us to the 33. Now I've got two 33s here. I've got this one and I've got this one. This one belonged to my stepdad years ago. And we'll pop it open and see what we find here. There we go, covers off. Hold the knob. Unscrew it. Looks like it needs to be serviced. I just picked this up a couple weeks ago from my mom, so it definitely is in need of a little bit of TLC. It was down in the garage. All right, now see, we're trying to pull this off, but it won't come off because the drag is set too tight, or at least that's what I'm assuming. So we're going to loosen the drag. Oh, sorry. Loosen the drag by turning it which way here? Nope, that didn't help any. There we go. Got that off. That's all. Okay, now this is the very basic drag system. That uses this plate right here, and this plate fits into this screw right here. And as you screw that screw, let's see here, we'll use this one. As you screw that screw, oh, this one's tight. There we go. As you turn that screw, it moves that screw in and out. Well, as you move that screw in and out, it puts pressure on this plate, which pushes up on these drag washers on the bottom of the spool. So here's what I've encountered in the past. If you look at this reel, all right, it is missing that assembly. And the reason it's missing that assembly is because I broke it trying to unscrew it. But now I have a replacement to put in it. I'm not going to do it, I don't think, on this video. But you can see how this works. You've got the nut inside, the knob, and the screw just screws in and out. Well, as it screws in and out, it pushes out on this plate. And as it pushes out on the plate, that pushes and puts pressure against the spool, which is held in place by the clip. And you've got these drag washers right here that allow it to slide. Well, all this has to be clean. This is not clean, and this is not going to work very well the way it is. Once it's all clean, polished, then that drag system should work. If you try to use it like that, you're probably going to end up with a very sketchy in and out. All right. So, what do we know about this one? Let's go ahead and pop the back off of it. Make sure that everything is as I've said. It's not going to come off. There it comes. There we go. All right. Now you can see the knob right here, just like this one here. I'm going to go ahead and pop it out of there. Just unscrew the screw. With that done, you can just lift that out. All right, so you've got one just like that, just like I just showed you. All right, and all it does is just screws in and out. Now the one that I broke, the screw was corroded inside the nut, and I tried to, instead of using patience and putting some penetrant oil and everything else, I tried to force it, and when I did, I snapped one of the ears off of the screw right here. And once I got it out using a pair of vice grips, it started to turn and come right out. So it was really a shame that I broke that, but fortunately, as I was able to go through my dad's stuff, I found a good one, and we'll put this back in. And that's all that 33 is going to need to use. I'll get it lined up. Apparently I don't have it lined up, and I just shot the screw. There we go. All right, let's try it again. All right, holes lined up. Now I turned it the wrong way. There we go. All right, when you go to put this back together, you line that up so it's parallel with the edge, or as close to you can get to that edge. And then this piece goes in to where it drops into that slot and that slot. Okay, I had a pause there for a moment. Since this is supposed to be a reel about how to fix the drag, let's go ahead and fix the drag on this reel. Just got a little bit of dirt in it, but that's not the problem. The problem is this corrosion. That's enough to keep it from operating properly. So let's go ahead and fix the drag and get it up and working. I just answered a YouTube comment from one of my fellow YouTubers who suggested that I get an ultrasonic parts cleaner, and I had considered doing that. With the number of reels that I do, I had considered purchasing one to do these, but since I want everyone to be able to do this, everybody doesn't have access to an ultrasonic parts cleaner. I mean, they could all go buy one for 60 bucks, but how many people want to do that to do a one-time repair? So I'm trying to keep this in the realms of what your average people at home have. All right, one thing I didn't do before we screwed this back in, since we're doing a repair on the drag, let's go ahead and unscrew this screw again, because I have seen it, as I told you with the other one that I broke, I have seen that where the screw jammed up and corroded up inside the nut. Well, because that happens, let's go ahead and put a little bit of lubricant on that screw so that that doesn't happen. At least not for another 5 or 6 years. Okay, make sure to screw that screw down until it's just flush with the body. All right, now we're going to try to scrub this plate clean. All right, the goal here is not to try to make this look perfectly smooth and shiny. The goal is to have it feel smooth, okay? I can't feel any of the distortions on this now. And if you look at the plate, all right, now, this doesn't have to be perfectly smooth or perfectly shiny, but it does need to be perfectly smooth. So check it out real good. If you have to, you can take some real lightweight sandpaper and sand it. I even contemplated going down and putting this one on my bench grinder with my wire wheel to polish it out, but I think it's pretty smooth and I think it's going to work just fine. So we've got that. We've got this part cleaned up. We should have 2 of these. We do. These are keyed washers. See the little keys inside? Well, those are going to fit into these slots right here. All right, so let's go ahead and scrub these up. Again, note that the important thing here is to get these smooth. Welcome back. My battery died. I've just had all kinds of interruptions today. But I guess you can expect that for a Saturday morning. All right, that's got those washers cleaned up. This guy is rusty enough. I'm going to take it and put it on my wire wheel. I won't be able to get all that off just with a piece of steel wool, so I will be right back. Okay, wire wheel made short work of that. That's nice and pretty again. I decided though to try hitting this with a little bit of Scotch-Brite just to be on the safe side. And it is improving it just a little bit, but not much. I thought about putting it on the wire wheel again, but it's smooth, so I'm not overly worried about it. And what this was lacking, if this had had a good drag grease installed on it, this never would have corroded like this. All right, so we are going to put some drag grease on there and take care of that. All right, that brings us down to the spool. The spool's the last part for this drag system besides those washers, and they're just going to get wiped off. Flip it over and let's do the other side. I have had a lot of cans of WD-40 in my lifetime, but I've never had one that was as hard to push the button on as this one. I don't know if it's got a burr on the spring or what's going on, but that thing really gives me a fit trying to push that button. All right, and then run it around on the inside a little bit because it has to be able to spin on there. Okay. Okay, wipe the wheel off, check it, it's nice and smooth. And it's a little bit rough right here. Let me do a little bit more work right there. Because, yeah, if it's not smooth, it's going to have difficulty. Anywhere that it's got an imperfection, it's going to try to bite in to your washers. Okay? All right. Good. Now, we're going to take the body and we're going to lubricate around the inside because the spool has to be able to rotate on that. Okay? We're going to the drag plate on each side. It hooks into the slot. Then comes, see, on the drag plate. Now, this washer probably won't turn against this drag plate. It probably will sit flat up against it and just stay there. But we'll put some lubricant on there to give it the opportunity to. And then slide on the metal washer. And we are going to use drag reel grease at this point. And can you use regular fishing reel grease? Yes, you can. It's just there are extra ingredients in drag reel grease that just help it slide better. Some kind of polymers or something that allow it to slide better. Okay? And they say because these are Teflon that they don't really even need grease, but because of the age of this reel and the imperfections that are in it, I'm suggesting that we go ahead and put grease on it. Okay? Slide this down now. Install. Now let's wipe this one off. It doesn't look like it's very clean. Okay, install the Teflon washer. Well, before you do that, put your drag reel grease on. Install your Teflon washer. Add some more drag reel grease. Now remember, you don't want it swimming in grease, but you do want to have enough on there that it does what it's supposed to do. Okay. And, alright, now, when we try to put this down, it's not going all the way down. Why is that? Because we need to go down a little further with this screw over here. Alright, there. Okay, now the washer fits down over top of the center. So if you go to put it down and it doesn't go all the way down on the center post, adjust this drag so this screw protrudes out more. This onto the back. That's because it's not down far enough. Alright, so you've got that done. Now come back and I'm going to put a little bit of grease on this clip just because it's been so rusty in the past. And we're going to wipe it right back off again, but I want a coating of grease on it. Alright, we're going to slip it into place. Take our screwdriver. Pop it on. And then we're going to come back and wipe off our excess grease. Alright. With that done, we can put our back cover back on. And I'm not getting into the whole lubricating everything, just we're going to check and make sure it works. That keyway goes there, that one goes there, and then rotate it slightly clockwise. Very good. Okay. Because this thing needs new line, everything. Alright. Now, guess what? It's not working. You know why? Why do you suppose it might not work? Because it's missing the rotor. Pay attention to the parts that you've got laying there. I'm more interested in talking to you guys than I am about how to put the reel together. So pay attention to what you're doing. Don't be a Rick. And watch what you're doing. All right. Okay. There's our drag working. Okay. And that's tighter. That's tighter. Even tighter. Really tight. Okay. So we've gone from having a drag that probably didn't work very good at all because it was very corroded and rusted, to having one that functions beautifully. And if you've got the other type, I've shown you how to do that. So that's got the Zebco 33, the 600, and the 606. All right. Next, we've got a Zebco 33. This is the old style, the single metal foot with the feather touch. I think that's what they call it. And with that reel, you've got a screw knob down here at the base that is no longer moving that nylon. This is an earlier version. Okay, what we've got here is a metal arm. Now as that metal arm moves, it moves this cam inside the center post. What we're going to do, we're going to go ahead, I've already pulled the C-clip out to make this a little bit easier to explain. I'm going to unscrew this out of here so that we can move this arm easily. See how it swings back and forth? Alright, when that arm swings, if you look here, as it swings, it pushes out on this cam. Alright? When that pushes out on the cam, that wedges it inside the spool, holding it tight. Alright? So if this one were jammed, what would we do to see about fixing this? Let's see here. I would see about taking this arm out. Let's see if the arm comes out. Yes, that arm pulls right out, the cam arm. It pulls right out. With that out, I got a feeling that these cams will come out. No, they don't want to come out. Okay. So, but with that cam out, I believe that you could loosen all the rest of this up if it were jammed. I don't want to break this, so and I'm not going to force it out. Although I really believe that'll just pop right off. But I don't want to break it, so we're not going to. I mean, we've got a 50-year-old reel here. I'm not going to break it just to find out. All right, so in order to put all this back together, we're going to drop the cam lever back through the hole. You might have to wiggle it around to get that cam to do what it's supposed to do. There we go. Had to wiggle it back and forth a few times. Now, with that in place, you've got this block, and this block fits over top of that stud, like so, and then this screw arm for your adjuster comes in, and it screws in. Now the tighter, again, just like all the rest, the tighter you screw that down, the tighter it's going to make this cam, and the tighter your drag will be. So the more you loosen it, the more it will go the opposite direction. All right, with that in that position now, we're going to go ahead and reinstall the C-clip or E-clip, depending on what you want to call it. I think a good argument can be made for either one. I grew up calling it a C-clip. It's up against this edge, which makes needle nose pliers be a little bit difficult for putting it in. So I'm going to transfer over to a flat blade screwdriver, pop it in the rest of the way. And you can't see anything from that angle. Let's see if I can turn it around. There. That's got the C-clip reinstalled. Okay, and if you want all this to operate smoothly, put some grease on it. And operate it back and forth a few times. Okay. Now I took off this feather touch assembly in order to for you to be able to see that. So we're going to slip it back in real quick. Slides in. The centerpiece drops back down the middle, like so. And then the ends of it go into the ends on those. Alright, like so. Alright, now once the back cover's back on, if I didn't put that in correctly. Yep, that operates the feather touch and moves the center button in. Alright, next goes on the spool, and this little clicker right here is what makes the noise on the bottom of your spool when your drag is moving. You can hear it? Barely. If it's too dampened, you may have too much grease on it. And you can take some of the grease back off and see if it makes it sound a little better. Definitely. All right. We are now going to put the spool holder back on. Put your rotor back on. All right, put the hole down at the bottom. There we go. Tighten the screw back down to hold everything in place. Okay, now unlike the 606 and the 600 that had the, when you screw them out, it tightens it in. This one is more intuitive. It's the way it should be, I think. When you turn the screw in, it tightens the drag. As you turn it out, it loosens the drag. And the tighter you get it, there you go. You can eventually get it to where you got no drag at all. There we go. All right, so that's our 3 different types of drag systems that I know of that are in the 33s, the 606s, and the 600s. Hopefully, you will find this helpful. And this is Rick Stivers with Young Martin's Reels, signing out.